Hey everyone, this is Tiqqle, and in this video we're going to talk about the PvE trinkets that were just introduced into the Shadowlands beta. Now, these PvE trinkets are able to be used in PvP, and they're sold from this vendor. We'll go over the vendor and how it works right now in the beta, but what I want to go over is the overall kind of use of these trinkets in PvE, and then we'll also talk about using them in PvP and how they're doing and some thoughts about that. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. They added a vendor where you can pick up these PvE trinkets and use them in PvE or PvP. This is great for testing, especially because some of them seem like they're going to be very strong in PvE or very strong in PvP, but how does it really feel and what does it actually add up to by the end of a dungeon? Now, I'm just going to go ahead and say disclaimer, nothing that I say is using sims or anything like that. Those things will come out. Definitely check Blood Mallet for when those are available. Now, what we're actually been doing is we've been looking at these and saying like, wow, there is so much here. There are 90 trinkets, and that is insane. Number one, like that is just crazy. I mean, some of them are dark moon trinkets. Some of them are alchemy trinkets. About half of them are from the raid of the dungeon. I went through and verified that. And then there's also trinkets that do, as all trinkets do, right? There's the on-use effect. So there's this one, which comes from the first boss of the raid, which does about 13k damage. My friend got hit by 18k in PvP and just died. So that's pretty great, right? On a 1.5 minute cooldown, do 13k damage. And remember, our health pools are such that that's about 50% of my health pool right now. So that's neat. There's also things like Hateful Chain, which gives me the passive agility, but also on hit has a very high chance to do 755 physical damage. So there's also things like this, on use doing damage at range. This is an agility one, but it still has an on use fires 3 like missiles to do 10k damage. So you might think to yourself, well, how does this feel? Like, what is this? Does this really feel like a good thing? How does it compare to other things? What's the total deal here? Because there's so much here. And so from a PvE aspect, what I wanted to do, especially if there's things like this, drop a totem at your feet for 15 seconds, harvesting your target, inflicting 860 damage each second. Each time your target dies, affected by it, you're healed, and the cooldown is reduced with a 2-minute cooldown. So the question is, like, how do these feel? Well, what we did is we made a spreadsheet. Now, this is not perfect. I'm going to get, again, disclaimer, this isn't the actual law. This is just the numbers that I saw when we were testing it. And a huge shout out to some of the guys on the stream that were testing it with me. Thank you so much. But I'll go into this a little bit more. But first, I want to just give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. As many of you know, I was looking for a new chair. I was using a chair. I was actually like getting numb feet. It was not good. So GT Racing had reached out to me offering to send me a chair. They sent me the chair in the mail and they just said, hey, give us your thoughts and unbox it and put it together. And this is basically me putting it together. I'm here with Cheetos, who's helping me unbox and put things together. It was a pretty simple assembly process, and my honest review is that it's just like assembling any other chair, really. The only special feature on this chair versus other chairs, other office chairs or sitting chairs, is that it has the lever which you can adjust the incline of the back seat. This is one of the chairs that can go down all the way pretty much flat, and it can actually feel pretty okay. I mean, I'm not going to personally do that very much, but it is an option that exists. Now, what I do like about this chair a lot is the fact that the seat is actually pretty long. It's actually longer than the other office chairs that I have, which actually makes it kind of a bit more comfortable. It doesn't feel like the edge of the chair is like digging into my thigh or anything like that. It has adjustable height for the armrest, but I haven't really had to mess with that too much. It's actually quite soft, and even the shoulder guards, which are there, are actually positioned in a way that it does make me feel like I'm pretty snug in the seat. Now, here are all my chairs that I was using up until this point. And to be honest, I can honestly tell you that GT Racing chair is my preferred chair. It's actually quite comfortable. I like the pillows for my back support. Posture checks hopefully won't happen as much. And overall, I'm actually pretty impressed with the chair. And this is a true honest review. I had low expectations going in because of a racing gaming chair. I never was one to really go in that direction, but it actually proved to be pretty smooth, and it was easy to put together. It looks pretty good. I went blue for my shaman colors. And I want to thank GT Racing for sponsoring this video and giving me the opportunity to share this with you. If you guys are interested in this chair and to get the best discount, you can use code Tiqqle with the link down below at their website to buy your own chair. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. Now let's go ahead and jump back to the video. Let me explain what we've done. I'll put the link down below as always. But what we did is we basically had a bunch of people in a group, and we were taking it, different specs, enhance, Ellie, Prot, a Bear Druid, and we were taking each of these trinkets, which all of the 90, by the way. Now, enhance might only have 6 pages, but if I go to all of them, they're 10 pages. This is so many to look at, so many to understand. What does it feel like? Well, and we'll eventually put links into here from where that you can actually link to the Wowhead, but that give us a day or two. We're going to be working on this a lot every single day. But what we did is we basically said, okay, well, if I look here, basically, Tiqqle, what you said was that there was Dreadfire Vessel, does 9.5k. Well, if we go ahead and look at the damage here, okay, Dreadfire, I was, I or someone else in my group was an Ellie. We did a +4. It did 4% of our overall damage for the entire dungeon. We used it 9 total times. If you think about it, 9 times 1.5 minutes, that was 10 minutes, 15 minutes to do the dungeon-ish, right? And then I did 11k damage average. Okay, that's actually like mapping out to what it says. And that's really important because on presses are going to be predictable, right? Every 1.5 minutes, we should expect to see that much damage. But what isn't predictable is when you see things like this. While you have a great health greater than the percentage of your target, your abilities have a very high chance to proc a certain amount of damage, 755. Well, in this case, we actually did test this. I tested this as well, right? It didn't really add up, right? It did 3.54% of my damage, and this was for a boss fight. It procced 18 times. It hit for 600. So the damage is aligning to about where it says it will be, but the proc rate is 18. It didn't feel that great, and it only did 3.4% of my damage for that boss fight. Now, what we'll be doing is we're actually going to be putting, is it the overall dungeon or is it the boss fight? And we're going to test these iteratively. If we do have testing, for example, if I have a rogue in my group that uses this, we will then have him, I will add a line here, and we will put, Hateful Chain, Rogue, etc. And a good example of this is down below. We had the Elder Stormseed. We had an Ellie test it and an Enhanced test it in 2 different dungeons. It did a little bit more for the Enhanced. Now, this is not sim data. This is just what the results were from the dungeon. So when I was running with these guys, I would look at Spires. We did a 5, right? I would go into this, and we would look and be like, okay, well, like where were your unused trinkets? Well, okay, this guy, I look, and here's one right here. Okay, Elder Stormseed did 112k, was about 5.4% of the overall damage, and we just logged it here. So this is going to be a work in progress, and it's going to be something that I'm hoping that you can help me with. If you have entries to this that you would want to use when you're doing testing, I would love to include it. If you have any, like a screenshot even, or something like that, if you want to send it to me either on Twitter or on Discord, I'll put links below. That's what we want to do. I want to know, because when you see things that say stuff like, for example, let's just say there's things like Hateful Chain, right, that say this gets a very high chance. What does very high mean? It's so subjective. Here's another one. Your damaging abilities have a very low chance to manifest a Drust Behemoth, smashing your target for 5.6k. That's actually a lot. So did we test that? Well, let's see. Rot Briar, we did. So an Ellie actually used that, which is funny to even think that's possible, but yeah, it's an int. So he had this. We did it when we did a 4. He did 4.2% of his overall damage. Did 39 procs. It did 4.7 average, and it did a total of 184 across the dungeon. Now, I didn't include the time here. Maybe that's something I should include. Maybe I should include the cooldown. Let me know down below in the comments. This is just the beginning, but this is very important. For PvE, it's important to understand these things, especially when you're targeting these trinkets. Obviously, there'll be sims out, but you might want to understand, hey, how does this work? How many times do these things proc? And we also had things like this, for example, like Essence Extractor. Your attacks have a chance to drain the target of 2k health and heal you for a certain amount. Well, if you look at how this did, it did 3.4% of my overall damage. It only procced 5 times, but it did do that 2.2k. So, and actually, which is a little bit more. So these are just things that are good to know. Like, how often is this going to proc? Like, for an entire 6, it did that much. Like, is that really worth it? How is it really feeling and all that stuff? Most of the ones with the total damage numbers will be reflecting of the total dungeon. There are a few that we will have to update, which have boss fights, but it's just something to note. And it's just a way that I think it's helpful for me to understand, well, okay, well, let's just try to find another one. So if we look at the Glowing Endermire Stinger, we can see it hit 54 times for about, but it only hit for 8.6 860 for 46k total. So it's just a good idea to get what does this mean and how useful will this be. This particularly, like this is targets under 20%, for example. So I'm hoping that this will be useful. I know this is not good test data. It's not the best. It's the only thing that I have that we're able to share of our experience going through these mythics. So if you don't really trust this stuff, don't use it. It's okay. I won't feel bad. You know, I'm just trying to figure out ways to help the community and look and test these things out. I'm also giving it a rating of how good things feel versus you know, compared to each other, like 1 to 5 rating. There were certain ones that felt like they were really good and proccing often, or on use ones that felt good. But there's also some that don't feel good, like this one, for example, Master Duelist Chit. Now, if I look here, Master Duelist Chit on Enhance did 1.9% of my overall damage for an Enhanced Shaman while I was popping Wind Furies. So those extra hits, right? Oh, sorry, here it is. Your attacks have a chance. It wasn't doing anything. And I think that is actually pretty useful feedback for Blizzard to realize, hey, this actually has a very bad chance, or it's just not really seeming to be very useful. Why would I ever go something that's going to do this low? Also, like, we also did healing. We also did tanking. Beating Abomination Core seems absolutely insane. You know, we were basically looking at the tank, like, okay, tank, like, what do you have here? Oh, wow, you have this trinket that's doing an insane amount of healing. This is a PvP scary PvP thing, honestly. In case you're, you know, thinking about PvPing, this could be pretty scary. Taking damage has a chance to heal you, and overhealing converts to an absorb. Yep, I just said it. So this is what we're doing for PvE. If you want to help out, definitely make sure to send me a message on Twitter or wherever. Happy to include your experience with certain trinkets. I just want to include it here. I think it would be useful to know. I do think getting some other classes other than Shaman would be useful. I know you guys know that I'm Shaman, but it would be good to get that experience from you. So if you, for example, have a mage might proc this differently based on how often they're hitting, based on their dots, based on certain things. Affliction, Warlock, Esper Priest. Would love to get that information. So if you are going to do that, just send me screenshots of your overall damage with it highlighted and details, or just send me like what these pieces of information are: your class, your Mythic Plus, the percentage of your total for the whole dungeon, the number of hits, the average damage, and anything, and how you felt about it. Would love to compile the community's view on these trinkets. This is what we need to kind of get a good sense of these, in my opinion, especially because some of them seem like they're super good. Some of them seem like they're, you know, going to be bad, and you might be surprised. So from a PvE aspect, that's what's going on. From a PvP aspect, I haven't included this yet, but there are some of these trinkets that are insane in PvP. Skulker's Wing, for example, as I mentioned earlier, is doing up to 20k, which is almost 80% of your health pool in a press. What's going on there? Now, there's other things like this trinket. This trinket is falling below 20% health, puts you to sleep for 2 seconds and healing you for 24k. Okay, I was actually testing this out, and it actually procs and does heal you for that much, but not if you go from 30% to 0. So there is a few nuances that are worth pointing out and sharing with the community. So in case you guys have any particular experiences about a trinket, let me know. Let's include that here as well. Let's get this a total view of all the trinkets so that people know for PvE and people know for PvP what's the deal. And maybe I'll put this onto a different tab as well. I think it might be cleaner that way. But if you have any suggestions for me, if you want to help me with these projects, or if you just have, you know, any thoughts, feel free to put it down below, and I appreciate everybody's help. I'm not going to go over any in particular trinket at this time. I'm going to make follow-up trinkets on that, though there are even healing trinkets that are extremely interesting. Like, I'll just throw on one as an example. This trinket is channel on a friendly target and restore up to 15,000 health over 6 seconds, split between all allies bathed in the beam. Channel on an enemy target to deal 12k holy damage over 6 seconds, spamming on all the enemies in that beam again. Like, what do you even mean, Tiqqle? What do you mean by this beam? Well, let me show you what it does. It's actually pretty interesting and pretty cool, and it seems like it's uninterruptible. You wouldn't know that by reading the tooltip. These are things that we have to experience, and I want to help you guys kind of check it out. So here we go. Ready? Look, a beam of light. Now, it's not doing quite as much as it says, in my opinion. Like, what the hell was that? But It did heal for, I guess it was about that. I guess someone ran in and took one of the charges and split it, but that's just something that's kind of cool and different. And I couldn't be kicked the entire time. So there are these types of things that I think these are experience-based things that we can observe that won't be sim-based, that we won't offend the people that are about the math. And I respect those math heads. So keep doing your thing, but we'll keep doing our thing and feeling them out and seeing how they feel. So with that being said, guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. That was it. I will do another video in like a week or so, maybe, about an update on how this is going. I'll put the link down below. And again, if you have any feedback or you want to get in touch, you want to talk about this, if you have any suggestions, let me know. I'll have a different video out. We did a different spreadsheet about damage, about DPS in the raid logs, because those aggregated websites aren't really showing you the full picture. So I have made a different Google Doc about that, and I will put that down in the description below. So with that being said, guys, we will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for the support on the Twitch stream. Thank you so much for the support on the YouTube channel. Come by stream. Let's talk about this. Let's go through some examples. We've been running Mythics with the chat, exploring things ourselves. And if you do like these videos, make sure to hit that sub button, hit that like button. And thanks so much for the love. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.